Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. One of the most common stories in the music business are the constant battles between artists and their producers or record companies. The examples are always almost identical. A musician gets signed by a record label which releases their music, and even when the music blows up and makes lots of money, the artist gets next to nothing. Reggae music has more than its fair share of such cases, with artists like Sister Nancy, Burning Spear, Bounty Killer, and Etana declaring war on the Babylon system in the industry in many well-publicized feuds. But recently, roots reggae legend Max Romeo became the latest artist to grab his record company by the jugular when a few days ago he filed a multi-million-dollar suit against the Universal Music Group for many grievances spanning almost a 50-year period, among many other infractions that have driven this veteran musician to declare war on Babylon, personified in this case by the biggest single record company on the planet in the humongous UMG, or Universal Music Group. Romeo earlier this year announced his retirement from music and kicked off a farewell tour which ended not too long ago, and it seems that he wants to leave the music business with a bang. Let's take a look at why Max Romeo has declared war on his record label and by extension the music industry. To get to the roots of this issue, we need to go back to 1976 when Max Romeo and Lee Scratch Perry were creating one of roots reggae's greatest albums. By that time, it had been 8 years since Romeo has stunned the world with his naughty smash hit Wet Dream, which had been banned on UK radio but still went up to number 10 in that country and stayed in that country's charts for almost 6 months. After recording 4 albums of good quality, he began to collaborate with his friend and producer Lee Scratch Perry. Perry around that time had just opened his iconic studio Black Ark and was deploying equal levels of genius and eccentricity to craft amazing sound. Romeo and Perry began to work on songs for his next album, inspired by the horrific political violence ravaging Jamaica. Romeo would write the hard-hitting songs that would make up the album War in a Babylon. One of the first songs recorded at Black Ark Studios was the title track War in a Babylon. One day, Island Records boss Chris Blackwell paid Perry a visit at the studio and the latter played him the song. Blackwell was blown away and immediately went to work to sign Max Romeo to Island Records in March 1976. The deal offered by Island seemed really sweet. Romeo was supposed to get 25% of royalties and 50% in publishing rights as a songwriter. So he signed the contract, becoming an Island Records artist, and went to work on the music. A few months later, the album War in a Babylon was released. In the history of roots reggae, it's gone down as one of the most fiery, radical, and mesmerizing bodies of music ever put together. A perfect harmony of fervent vocals and exquisite songwriting, combined with Perry's genius and devastating instrumentals from Perry's in-house band, The Upsetters. The album featured phenomenal songs like One Step Forward, War in a Babylon, and the biggest single, Chase the Devil. All in all, a smash hit of an album that sold millions of copies. Romeo's next album, Reconstruction, was also released under Island Records a year after in 1977. It was by all means a good album, but nowhere near the level of War in a Babylon. Not long after its release, Romeo moved to New York and parted ways with Island Records. That relationship produced 2 albums and 19 wonderful songs over a 2-year period. In the years since he left Island Records, his music, especially the songs that made up War in a Babylon, sold millions and millions of copies and have been covered by other artists who have also achieved good sales. But despite the money pouring into the label's account over the years, Max Romeo wasn't getting any money from royalties or publishing rights. But despite his immense popularity, album sales and tours, unknown to many, he was actually struggling financially. This all came to light in a 2019 interview where he revealed that despite the success of War in a Babylon, he had never received a penny in royalties from the label. By that time, Chris Blackwell was out of the picture as he had sold Island Records to Polygram UK in 1989, and Polygram itself had been acquired by the Universal Music Group in 1998, becoming the world's biggest music company. Max Romeo was ignored by his label, but by the time he gave that interview in 2019, he'd gotten a big boost for the sampling of his song Chase the Devil, which had eased his financial problems. It wasn't from his record label, UMG, but from the artists themselves. The first of these was UK electronic dance group Prodigy, who sampled Chase the Devil on their track Out of Space, released in 1992. The second was US rapper Jay-Z, who sampled the song on the 2003 track Lucifer. These two acts bypassed the label and directly paid Romeo a token, which finally got him a house and took care of his major needs, but was nowhere near the level of what was his due in royalties. While all this was going on, Chase the Devil was being heavily used in popular media, including video games like the immensely successful Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and the 2011 movie Paul, which grossed almost $100 million. I believe that one of the most frustrating parts for Romeo would have been that his original agreement with Island Records stipulated that the label was to provide him with account statements twice a year, but after 4 decades, he never received any. I'm not certain of the exact thing that triggered Romeo into taking on his label head-on, but I suspect it may have been the payment of a measly $5,000 he received for the use of his song in the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas game, which as of 2011 had sold almost 30 million copies. In May 2021, he would hire an agent, an organization called Music Justice, to demand complete accounts and royalty statements from UMG. And that act seemed to work, as the label sent a statement in September of that same year. But unfortunately, the statement left out lots of information and made it clear that the record label had a lot to hide. And to make it more suspicious, they quickly sent Romeo a check for $125,000 almost immediately. This payment didn't even touch on the money from streams, downloads, and third-party licenses. That seemed to be the last straw. And after lengthy back and forth discussions that didn't go anywhere, Romeo finally took his label to court and sued the company on September 29, 2023 for $15 million and full ownership of all the songs on War in a Babylon and Reconstruction. It's a very messy situation and yet another example of the treacherous nature of the music business. The awful irony of UMG's treatment of Romeo is that at the beginning of this year, the company's CEO, Sir Julian Grange, in a New Year's message to his staff in January, called for a change in the company's operations and demanded where the creators of all music content, whether in the form of audio or short-form video, are fairly compensated. This isn't the first time that the label is facing challenges of this nature, as several other acts like rock band the Allman Brothers, English electronic dance group Prodigy, and even the Bob Marley family, which lost its own lawsuit against the company in 2010. It all hangs in the balance now, so let's see what will happen if Max Romeo will be able to pull off something of a coup against the world's biggest company in the mafia-type world of the music industry. It will definitely be a nice way for Max Romeo to head off into the sunset and retire with $15 million and the rights to his biggest songs, after slaying Babylon at the end of his career. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.